We're not going to let this happen. Biden let people come in from prisons, mental institutions, drug dealers, murderers. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom. We will be a fighting and winning machine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of War.
Well, you've heard from me, so now it's the main event, our Commander-in-Chief. I have the privilege every single day of watching him put America first, of ensuring that our warfighters have everything they need. His compass is clear. He's easy to follow because you know he has our back. I was thinking backstage, the man who was the Commander-in-Chief when the War Department was created was George Washington. The man who was president when the War Department was reestablished is President Trump. And when he found out about this gathering of senior leaders, he said, I would be honored to come in order to address and thank the incredible Americans who defend our nation. He has a heart full of gratitude and love for what you do, and we get a chance to see it every day. And I'm honored that this morning you all firsthand get to see it as well. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the 45th and 47th President of the United States, our Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, Pete. Great job you're doing, too. Fantastic job. I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Oh, don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. And I was told that, sir, you won't hear a murmur in the room. I said, we got to loosen these guys up a little bit. So you just have a good time. But I want to thank Secretary Hegseth and General Kane, General Raisin Kane for a reason, they call him that. When I heard his name, I said, you're the guy I'm looking for. The Joint Chiefs of Staff and so many others in this room who together represent the greatest and most elite fighting force in the history of the world, the United States military. We're very proud of our military. I rebuilt the military during my first term. It's one of the greatest achievements. We had the greatest economy in history, and I built the military. Those are the two things I say more than anything else. And I also kept us safe at the borders. We had very good borders. We didn't have people coming in from jails and prisons and everything like took place over the last 4 years. They'll never forget what happened to this country over the last 4 years with the incompetence. There could be no higher honor than to serve as your Commander-in-Chief. It is a great honor. I look at you, you're just incredible people. Central casting, I might add. To each and every one of you, I thank you for your unwavering devotion to the armed forces and to the country that we've all sworn a sacred oath to defend. We all have that oath, every one of us. I'm thrilled to be here this morning to address the senior leadership of what is once again known around the world as the Department of War. I know Pete spoke about it. He gave a great speech, I thought. Great speech. I don't want him to get so good. I hate that. You know? No, I hate it. I almost fired him. I said, you can't, I don't want to go on after that. No, he gave a great speech, but he talked about Department of War. We were sitting there. I said, didn't it used to be called the Department of War? And he goes, yes, sir. They changed it like in the early 50s. So we won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything in between and everything before that. We only won. And then we went, in a way, woke. That was probably the first sign of wokeness. And we changed it to defense instead of war. And I said, what do you think? How do you think if we changed it back? Would that be a nice idea? And Pete loved it immediately. Some people thought about it, they gave it a little thought. But in the end, we did it. And I have to be honest, it's so popular. I thought it would be met with fury on the left, but they're sort of giving up, I must be honest with you. They've had it. They've had it with Trump. They've been after me for so many years now. Here we are. Here we are. Come to the White House anytime you'd like. No, they've given up. They're bad, a lot of bad people. But all over, it's been so popular. It's been very popular. I really thought that we were going to have to sort of fight it through. There's been no fight. There's been no fight. Like what I called the Gulf of America, because to me it was always the Gulf of America. I could never understand. We have 92% of the frontage. And for years, actually 350 years, they were there before us. It was called the Gulf of Mexico. I just had this idea. I'm looking at a map. I'm saying, we have most of the frontage. Why is it Gulf of Mexico? Why isn't it the Gulf of America? And I made the change, and it went smoothly. I mean, we had a couple of fake news outlets that refused to make the change. And then one of them, AP, took us to court, and we won. And the judge, who was a somewhat liberal judge, said, the name is the Gulf of America, because AP refused to call it the Gulf of America. They wrote, they're not a good outfit, by the way. They call it the Gulf of Mexico. I said, no, the Gulf of America is the name. And the judge actually said that, in fact, you can't even go into the room because what you're doing is not appropriate. The name is the Gulf of America. Google Maps changed the name. Everybody did, but AP wouldn't. And then we won in court. How about that? Isn't that so cool? The Secretary Heggs beautifully described the name change reflects far more than the shift in branding. It's really a historic reassertion of our purpose and our identity and our pride. That's when we go with the word war. And we want war because we want to have no wars, but you have to be there, and sometimes you have to do it. I think we should maybe start thinking about battleships, by the way. We have a Secretary of the Navy came to me because I look at the Iowa out in California, and I look at different ships and the old pictures. I used to watch Victory at Sea. I love Victory at Sea. Look at these admirals. It's got to be your all-time in black and white. And I look at those ships. They came with the destroyers alongside of them, and man, nothing was going to stop. They were 20 deep, and they were in a straight line, and there was nothing going to stop them. And we actually talk about, those ships. Some people would say, no, that's old technology. I don't know. I don't think it's old technology when you look at those guns. But it's something we're actually considering, the concept of battleship. Nice 6-inch sides, solid steel, not aluminum that melts if it looks at a missile coming at it. Starts melting as the missile's about 2 miles away. Now, those ships, they don't make them that way anymore, but you look at it, and your secretary likes it, and I'm sort of open to it. And bullets are a lot less expensive than missiles, a lot of reasons. I should take a vote, but I'm afraid to take that vote because I may get voted out on that one. But I tell you, it's something we're seriously considering. There were powers. There were big powers. They were just about as mean and scary as you could be. And so we're looking at that. One of the biggest cases that we won was the decision of the United States Supreme Court to allow us to proceed on the word merit. So those two words are right up there. So this is, I would say, the opposite if you ask for a definition, the opposite of political correctness. We went through political correct where you had to have people that were totally unfit to be doing what you're doing for many reasons. I won't get into them, but for many reasons they were unfit. Now it's all based on merit. That was such an unbelievable decision. I didn't expect we were going to win that one. We went in. We said we need it. We went in for colleges, where kids with a C average are getting into the best colleges, and the kids with A averages won't get in. And kids with the highest boards and the highest marks and the best marks couldn't get into the best schools. And people that had not good boards and not very good marks, okay, but nothing special, they were getting into our best colleges. I said, this is just crazy. You can't run a country like this. And it was lingering for years, and it got to the Supreme Court, and we won that decision. Merit, everything's based on merit. You're all based on merit. We're not going to have somebody taking your place for political reasons because they are politically correct, and you're not. We take the people that are going to do the best job. That's all. It's very simple. And that's the way our country was built. We were built on merit. We got away from it for a long time. And everyone understands it. And it was done. It was approved. I give great credit to the Supreme Court because I thought they had tremendous courage. I didn't think they'd do that. That was tremendous. I give them maybe for that decision almost more than anything because it's a hard decision to make. It's really hard. The apparatus of our country was not set up for merit. It was set up for political correctness. And you can never be great if you're going to do that. And we're going to be greater than we ever were before. We're bringing back a focus on fitness, ability, character, and strength. And that's because the purposes of American military is not to protect anyone's feelings. It's to protect our republic. And it's the republic that we dearly love. It's to protect our country. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom, and we will be a fighting and winning machine. We want to fight, we want to win, and we want to fight as little as possible. You have to count on people like me to keep you out of wars because we don't want to go into wars. Many of the wars that I just told you about, we could have entered those wars and settled them in a different way, lose a lot of our troops. And we could have settled them, I guess, differently. Maybe not, actually. Actually, you might not have been able to settle them. We just would have been in the middle of a lot of firepower. But when we do need it, you're going to be so ready. And you know it. But very importantly, with that goal in mind, I've committed to spending over $1 trillion on our military in 2026, and that's the most in the history of our country. $1 trillion, that's a lot of money. I hope you like that. Ma'ams and sirs, I hope you like it. That's a hell of a lot of money. We have the best of everything. Every branch is seeing major investments, and as I announced in the Oval Office in March, we are rapidly moving forward with the first ever 6th generation fighter jet. I didn't name it. I did not name it. Boeing came in and they said, sir, this is our submittal. It's the greatest fighting jet ever done. And you know, they're testing all these planes, all the companies are testing, and this one tested like through the roof. And they said, we'd like to name it the F-47. I said, all right, let me think about it. Then after thinking for about 2 seconds, I said, okay. You know what that means, 47, I'm 47. So I'm 45, 46, and 47, you know, if you think about it. I just don't want the credit for 46. I don't want to have their open borders and people coming in from all over the world, including jails and mental institutes. I don't want that on my record, but I like having it. We're investing tens of billions of dollars in modernizing our nuclear deterrence capabilities like never before. And we've begun construction on what we call the Golden Dome missile defense shield. It'll be the most sophisticated in the world. You watched it do well until they had some problems at the end with a little bit of a lack of ammunition, defensive ammunition, but they've got that taken care of. But I tell you, it's what we're doing is so good, and we deserve it. You know, we help other countries with it. We don't have it ourselves. And Canada called me a couple of weeks ago. They want to be part of it. To which I said, well, why don't you just join our country? You become 51, become the 51st state, and you get it for free. So I don't know if that made a big impact, but it does make a lot of sense. It actually makes, because they're having a hard time up there in Canada now, because as you know, with tariffs, everyone's coming into our country. We have more investment than we've ever had before, $17 trillion coming in. As an example, in 4 years, Biden didn't have $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion more than that in 8 months coming in. And they're coming in from Canada, Mexico, from Europe, from all over. AI, auto plants. Everybody's coming back to the United States. Under my budget, we will be expanding the U.S. Navy by at least 19 ships next year, including submarines, destroyers, assault ships, and more. And it's going to be much more than that as we go along, because we basically don't build ships anymore. We do build submarines, but we don't build ships. Do you know in the Second World War, they were freighters and different types, but we were doing a ship a day, and now we don't do ships. And I'm not a fan of some of the ships you do. I'm a very aesthetic person, and I don't like some of the ships you're doing aesthetically. They say, oh, it's stealth. I said, that's not stealth. An ugly ship is not necessary in order to say you're stealth. By the way, the B-2 bombers were incredible. That is stealth. They went into that. I was with General Kane and Pete were in we call it the war room, but we're watching them go in, and they were totally untouched. They were not seen. They were literally not seen. They dropped their bombs. They hit, every single one of them hit its target. It was total obliteration. CNN, when we came back, fake news CNN, oh, their camera just went off. Look, you know, their camera, every time I mention them, they turn the camera off because it's never good. They say, this is a problem. But I don't blame them. You're better off keeping it off. But they have some scammer reporter who started saying, without any knowledge, that he may not have hit the targets as well as they thought. It may not have been obliteration. He did hit the targets, and I got to give us a little credit, right? It was obliteration, it turned out. The Atomic Energy Commission said it was obliteration. They had, not only did they hit the target, they had these chutes. And think of this here. Way up in the sky, there was no moon. It was dead dark. You couldn't see a thing. You couldn't see them. But they had, I guess, a beam going right into these chutes. Every single one of those bombs went right down those chutes into a granite mountain. I think it's the last time they're going to build air chutes. They had these air chutes that were nice, beautiful. They were meant for us. But it was total obliteration. And now they give us credit for that. But these people were phenomenal. I tell you, for the Air Force people here, you can be very proud. That B-2, we just ordered a lot of new ones and updated ones, but I'd take the other ones. Let me tell you, they couldn't have worked any better. So they flew for 37 hours total, back and forth, no stops, no nothing. We had 52 tankers loading them up. And that's a job I wouldn't necessarily want too much, flying a tanker, loaded up with hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel. I don't know if I'd do that job, General. I asked the question, what happens if it gets hit? Sir, you don't want to know about that, right? I don't want to know about that. But those guys, they just hear us. They're incredible. I had them all to the Oval Office. We had the B-2 pilots and a lot of the people, even the people that took care of them, the maintenance people, just as important. We had them all to the White House, gave them a big party on the lawn, brought some of them into the Oval Office. But on top of all this, we'll deliver a hard-earned pay raise of 3.8% to every soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, Space Guardman, and Marine, something you weren't getting from the past administration. They did not treat you with respect. They're Democrats. They never do. Not only are we rebuilding our great strength, but for the first time in years, my administration is actually using that strength to defend the core and vital interests of America. And very simply, we are putting America first. And I have since I've been elected. I've always put America first. It's sort of simple, you know, when you think. My campaign was run on common sense, and we did great. We got the highest numbers ever received in terms of districts. You know, they have it broken up, 2,500 versus 525. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything. We won everything. You have to take a look at the map. It's almost entirely red, except there's a little blue line on each coast, and I think that's going to disappear too. We did really great, and part of it is because of our success with the military, the rebuilding of the military, the vote that I got from the military, and they're vicious people, you know, that we have to fight, just like you have to fight vicious people. Mine are a different kind of vicious, but they spread all these horrible, you know, they made up statements and said what I said about everything, but even about the military. But fortunately, the military didn't believe it. It's hard. You know, they make up a statement and they said, you say it. We had 25 people that said he never said that. 25. We had 25 affidavits. And they said, well, we're going with it anyway. You know, these sleazebags. And it's why the press is really losing all power, because people aren't believing it. We need an honest press. We need borders. We need borders. We need an honest press. We need fair elections. I mean, those three things. And we don't have an honest press. We have a really corrupt press. But we fight through the corrupt press. And the people understand you have to do this stuff a lot. You have to go on television a lot, because you can't get a fair shake if you're going to rely on somebody else. They don't understand. They've destroyed the image of media now is at the lowest point it's ever been. It's lower than Congress. Can you believe that? It's something. But together with many of you in the room, we've brought back the fundamental principle that defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly. After spending trillions of dollars defending the borders of foreign countries, with your help, we're defending the borders of our country from now on. We're not going to let this happen. Biden let people come in from prisons, mental institutions, drug dealers, murderers. You know, we had 11,488 murders allowed into our country by this guy who had no clue. He had no clue. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but he had no clue. The people that ran the office, the White House, were people that surrounded him, radical left lunatics that are brilliant people, but dumb as hell when it came to policy and common sense. And they allowed people from all over the world, from the Congo. They opened up prisons in the Congo. They came into our country totally unmatched, unvetted, unchecked. And from all over, South America, not just South America. You know, you think South America, no, but from all over. A lot came in from Venezuela. Venezuela emptied its prison population into our country. That's why they have Tren de Aragua, one of the worst gangs ever. But we took care of them. We took good, strong care of them. And I just want to thank the National Guard in Washington, D.C. for witnessing the triumphant return of peace through strength. We have great peace through strength. Dangerous job, isn't it, huh? Fire department. But that's the paving the way for progress once thought almost impossible. I mean, a year ago, you wouldn't have thought that was possible. A year ago, they were talking about making the military smaller because they can't get the people to join. We're thinking about making it larger because we have so many people. And it's nice to be able to cut people because of merit that aren't really qualified for any reason, a physical reason, a mental reason. You don't have to take them anymore because you have the pick of the litter, and they all want to be with you. They all want your job. They want to be with you. They want to work with you. They'll even take your job, you know. Got to be a little bit sharp. You got to watch it. But everybody wants to be doing what you're doing now. What a difference. When I speak to you, and I can say that as opposed to a couple of years ago when I was talking to rooms where they were desperate to get people and they couldn't get them. What a difference a presidential election can make. That's all it is. It's just a presidential election. Yesterday at the White House, we put forward a plan for peace in Gaza. We announced it, and we're going to create something that was my idea, but unfortunately I got drafted. It's going to be called the Board of Peace, and it's going to reign over that territory, and we're going to get that done. And they asked if I'd be the chairman of the Board of Peace. I wasn't counting on that. I had the idea for the Board of Peace, but I said yes, and I guess because of that, every leader, everybody wants to be on the Board of Peace, and we're going to watch over that very volatile part of the world and keep it non-volatile, so you don't have to get involved. We want to save you for other things or save you for nothing from that standpoint. We don't want you fighting wars, but if you have to, you're the most lethal fighting force in the world. And I would say that even 2-3 years ago. but now I say it with great enthusiasm. It's so true. And we're striving tirelessly to end the terrible war in Ukraine. And as you know, we're also working hard to get the allies to share more of the burden of our defense. Much of that has really already taken place. But all NATO members have committed to the increase that I talked about. Think of that. That was unthinkable. It used to be 1%, then we got it up to 2% in my last term. And they did not like it. And now I got it to 5%, and I get along great with all of them. In fact, they call me the president of NATO. I said, I don't think so. But they're great. They're great people, and they're spending a lot of money, and a lot of money that they should have been spending in the past. But I think Putin was a wake-up call for them, really. We're now selling large quantities of American-made weapons to NATO, and we're getting really fair pricing. We're making a lot of money. It's my hope that from Europe to Asia to the Middle East, our allies will make similar commitments to increase their military capabilities. And this will greatly strengthen our alliances, and also it'll make war far less likely. You know, if you're a strong presence like we are such a strong presence now. And I go around bragging about that. I've said, we have the strongest military anywhere in the world. I say it. You never heard Biden say that. You never heard him say anything. But you never heard him say, did you ever hear him say, we have the strongest military? He doesn't say that. I say it. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have great leadership. And I'll tell you, Pete and General Kane, and all of the people that I've met that have been lifted up in rank. And we got many of them out of here, too. I'll be honest with you. Didn't like doing it, but we got many of you out of here because we weren't satisfied. We know everything about everybody. It'll also help the United States rapidly rebuild our defense industrial base. Each of you can play an important part in getting allies to do their part. So to that end, Secretary Hegseth will soon be announcing major reforms to streamline military acquisitions and expedite foreign military sales. We have tremendous numbers of countries that want to buy our equipment, and you know, in many cases it takes too long. They have backlogged. We're backlogged on all the equipment, which is something that's new to us a little bit. And I told those companies, you better get your ass going, because we're selling you a lot of equipment. We're getting countries to buy your equipment. You got to produce the equipment. Some of the countries, I'm not going to mention, but some of the countries are buying a lot, and that's a good thing. They're on our side 95%. I'll never say 100% because it can always turn, right? You know about that. But they're on our side. The problem is we have to get the companies that make this equipment, and we make the best equipment in the world, but they got to make it faster. We have orders for the F-35. We have orders for everything. The new F-47. We have orders for everything. They got to make it faster. A lot faster. Ammunition they have to make faster. In the coming months, we'll be making even more historic announcements to fully embrace the identity of the Department of War. I love the name. I think it's so great. I think it stops wars. The Department of War is going to stop wars. If we are as ruthless and relentless as our enemies, the United States Armed Forces will be totally unmatched in the future. We have a group of enemies that are very ruthless and very smart, but they can't match us. They can't match us. They don't even come close to matching us. Again, you know, it's very important for me to say we are the greatest military in the world, but we make the best equipment in the world. I watched our anti-missile missiles. I watched our Patriots just knock things out like a needle, hitting another needle on the stage. There's a needle up there, and you send another needle up, and it hits it every time. During the war, we went 14 for 14. We had 14, this is with Iran, we had 14 missiles coming at us. All 14 were knocked out of the sky, every one of them. We make the best equipment. From Sparta to Rome, to the British Empire, to the United States of America, history has shown that military supremacy has never been simply a matter of money or manpower. At the end of the day, it is the culture, spirit of our military that truly sets us apart from any other nation. Our ultimate strength will always come from the fierce people and those brilliant people with such pride and the unbending will and the traditions of excellence that have made us the most unstoppable force ever to walk the face of the earth. And that's what we are. Remember, we never want to use it, but we have the most powerful nuclear capability, and I call it nuclear deterrent of any other country. Nobody close. The men and women in this room inherit the legacy built and won by Washington and Jackson, Grant and Pershing, Eisenhower and Patton, Nimitz and LeMay. We carry forward the majestic military heritage passed down from father to son, soldier to soldier, and one generation of warriors to the next. You are warriors, you know that, right? You're great warriors, or you wouldn't be in this room. You're the best of the best. From Concord Bridge to Fort McHenry, from Gettysburg to Manila Bay, from Normandy to Sicily, and from the jungles of Vietnam to the dusty streets of Baghdad, America's military has charged into hellfire, climbed up jagged mountains, crossed roaring oceans, and thundered across open deserts to defend our flag, our freedom, and our homeland. Nobody does it like you. Now we are discovering American muscle, reasserting American might, and beginning the next story chapter in American military legends and lore. That's L-O-R-E. It is lore. When it comes to defending our way of life, nothing will slow us. No enemy will stop us. They cannot stop us. And no adversary will stand in our way. They won't stand in our way. We don't want them to stand in our way. We don't want to even put them in that position, but they're not going to stand in our way ever again. You'll never see 4 years like we had with Biden and that group of incompetent people that ran this country that should have never been there. Because we had the United States military, the best, the boldest, the bravest that the world has ever seen, that the world has ever known. With leaders like we have right here in this beautiful room today, we will vanquish every danger and crush every threat to our freedom in every generation to come, because we will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. I want to just thank you once again, and God bless the United States military, and God bless America. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.